In this example, we have two functions, f of x, which is the square root of 10 minus 2x, and g of x, which is 1 over x plus 2. And in parts A, B, and C, we are asked to combine and evaluate these functions using different operations like addition in A, multiplication in B, and division in part C. So what we'll see eventually is that what we get in the end is a function. In this example, let's just talk about how we evaluate this at one specific point. So when we talk about f plus g of 3 in part A, for example, what we get is the value when we evaluate f at 3, and then we can add to that the value that we get after evaluating the function g at 3. And so evaluating f at 3, we get the square root of 10 minus 2 times 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. This gives us the square root of 4, which is 2. And then we can evaluate g at 3. So we can do this separately. And this gives us 1 over 3 plus 2, which gives us 1/5. And so now when we evaluate f plus g at 3, what I get is f of 3 plus g of 3, where f of 3 was 2, and g of 3 was 1/5, so it's 2 plus 1/5, and we can combine these two, we can add these two fractions to simplify this. 2 is the same thing as 10 over 5 plus 1/5, and so that gives us a value of 11/5 in part A. Same idea in part B, in that f times g evaluated at 3, we can get by taking f of 3 and multiplying that by g of 3. And we've already evaluated these in part A, each of these functions at 3. So we get f of 3, which is 2, times g of 3, which we found to be 1/5. So in part B, we get 2 times 1/5. In other words, we get 2/5. And lastly, in part C, when we want to evaluate g divided by f at 3, this would be the same thing as taking the value at g of 3 and dividing this by the value that we get when we evaluate f at 3. And so we found g of 3 to be 1/5. We found f of 3 to be 2. So what we get is 1/5 divided by 2, and we can simplify this since when we divide by 2, it's the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. So in other words, I get 1/5 times 1/2, which gives us 1/10.